Tadej Pogacar was without any doubt the main favourite to win Milan Sanremo. The bookmakers were not even wondering if he was going to win, but where he was going to attack to do so. A lack of respect towards most of his rivals? Possibly. Finally though, the Slovenian anthem was played on the podium, but not because Pogi was the winner. We don't think that his 5th place finish is a bad result, especially when you consider that many other riders were not up to expectations. However, he did miss his first big goal of the season due to several tactical errors. Do you want to hear about these and also know why this man with a Donald Trump cap was eager for Pogacar to win? Well, without any further ado then, let the show begin. One reason was the insane Chopressa climb. If a climber like Pogacar wants to win a classic like Milan Sanremo, he must eliminate the fastest and the most explosive men on the final 2 climbs, the Chopressa and the Poggio. The climb was started at a very high speed by the Jumbo-Visma team, with riders like Tosh van der Zand and Nathan van Hooijdonk accelerating the pace of the bunch, possibly looking to eliminate the fastest men and to be able to play with the double trick of Primož Roglic on the Poggio and Wout van Aert in a sprint from a reduced group. With such a situation, UAE Team Emirates could have let Jumbo continue doing a good job, but with 3 kilometers to the top, Pogacar himself told his compatriot Jan Polanc to increase the pace even more. Perhaps the Tour de France champion himself was expecting more from the Lagaglia winner. But in fairness, he had only recently dropped out of Paris-Nice and he could only impose his pace for 1 kilometer on the Chopressa. It was then that today's best man for the climbs, Italian Davide Formula, took over. This was the man that increased the speed in the bunch so much that he directly smashed the peloton to pieces, leaving it with less than 30 riders. The climb was completed in 9 minutes and 30 seconds, just 11 less than Colombo and Kotchenkov's 1996 radioactive record at the height of the Epoca. And this brings us to the second mistake of the day, or maybe the first if you think about it clearly. The wrong choice of gregarios. UAE Team Emirates had not brought a team that was up to one of the major objectives of its leader this season. Formolo performed at a spectacular level, and even a depleted Polanc had a minute of glory, as we mentioned earlier. However, one man who should have been crucial, Italian Alessandro Covi, was sorely missed. Some even considered him an outsider for today, but he finished almost 4 minutes behind the winner, and was not with his leader when he needed him. We also missed men like Matteo Trentin, skilled in this type of terrain, and with the necessary experience in prestigious races. Or Marc Soler, who showed savage form in the Tirreno Adriatico, but who they have preferred to take to the Volta a Catalunya, so possibly relying on the superpowers of Pogacar, not taking into account the powerful tailwind. The weather is a differential factor in these kinds of races, especially when only 2 climbs are decisive to break the coalescent bonds of the bunch. In the case of the Poggio, the last climb of the day, the wind was blowing powerfully from behind. Again, it was the Jumbo team with Christophe Laporte who started the climb of the Poggio in the lead, possibly trying to imitate the infamous 1-2-3 that they made in Paris-Nice. But again, Pogacar made the same mistake as on the Chopressa, with Formolo already exploding after pulling on the false flat between the 2 climbs. It was the Transalpine Diego Ulissi who stepped up the pace. It looked like the same thing was going to happen as on the Chopressa, but the 32-year-old former doped rider was already tired after the previous climb, and without doing any damage, he was only in the lead for 400 metres, at which point Tadej Pogacar decided to make his first attack. But with a favourable wind close to 35 km per hour, attacking from so far away when you've got a hungry Wout van Aert or Matej van der Poel on a terrain that is conducive to them is practically digging your own grave. Pogacar didn't understand this, and as if he were Jan Ullrich himself, he tried to simply lay down the power, and that was his 4th mistake. Power without control is useless. Pogacar wanted to prove today that he was the strongest man in the world peloton, that he had the legs to leave them all behind, as he did a few weeks ago in Tirreno Adriatico. But this wasn't a mountain with a snowy 10% gradient, nor were his rivals the slow Mikel Landa or Jonas Vingegaard. After Van der Poel caught the Pogacar-Van Aert duo, there was a break in the bunch, an ideal moment for a less marked man like Anthony Turgis, for example, who would finish second today at the finish, to launch a powerful attack. But no, today Pogacar had to do it, and after him came all the wolves. When 500 metres later he was caught again by Van Aert's momentum, he again launched another attack. It was not a hard one, and as we said, the wind was not going to favour this move. The ideal moment to attack was spotted by Søren Kragh Andersen, the DSM rider who was imitating Peter Sagan in the 2017 edition. He launched a powerful attack on the hardest ramp of the Poggio. Pogacar had so much energy in his legs today that he even went after this attack after having completed 3 in less than 2 minutes. But now, without quite so much power, he was unable to give a turn to the Dane. This caused Van der Poel and Van Aert to catch them from behind. The climb was coming to an end, and they only took 3 seconds off the rest of the riders that they hadn't managed to unleash. All down to attacking when they shouldn't have, and not letting the other riders wear themselves out at the start of the climb. The descent of the Poggio. It would be unfair to say that Pogacar has lost the Classicissima on the descent of the hill, especially when his compatriot Matej Mohoric, who seems to have done everything very well this season that his teammate Sonny Colbrelli has done very badly, made one of his spectacular descents as the great specialist that he is. He and only he is the one who deserves the win today, for the risks and the faith that the Slovenian from Bahrain victorious showed. However, Pogacar also made a mistake on the descent. Mohoric didn't overtake the Tour de France champion in a corner, nor in acceleration after coming out of one. He did it rather simply on a straight. Pogacar let him pass, as if he didn't know that this man has even won an under-23 World Championship thanks to this skill. As we say, it wasn't the most serious mistake, because no other rider dared to follow Mohoric either, and he wasn't going to take more risk than necessary. But maybe he could have put a little bit more emphasis on defending the position. In the Via Roma sprint, Pogacar couldn't hold off Van der Poel and Matthews. This shows that without a doubt, Pogacar did not lose Milan Sanremo because of his form, but because of these mistakes that he'll have to correct for future editions. Mohoric prepared specifically for today. He came to the Poggio with 2 companions who were not exactly explosive, Tratnik and Caruso, because all the work had already been done by the others, and he knew how to take advantage of his greatest virtue, and at the key moment. That's why today he won and others lost.